Welcome back to the channel, RacerX here, and today I am back at Courtesy Dodge Jeep Chrysler Ram in Tampa because I want to grab a couple of their vehicles and give you a comparison between two different engines. It is the Hurricane, right? The Hurricane high output versus the standard output. Is there really a difference between the two? There's not a huge difference on paper, but driving the two, I have a feeling that there may be a pretty big difference. So today we are going to find out. If you guys are brand new to the channel, please do me a big gigantic favor. Don't forget, hit subscribe. You can find that button right over here. And off we go. Today, I am back at the Dream Giveaway Garage in Largo, Florida, because they have just announced a brand new giveaway that I think you guys will absolutely love. I've been so excited for them to announce this one. Let's take a look at it. And there is the vehicle that I wanted to show you. That is a 2024 Ram TRX. But it's not just any TRX. That has the Hennessey Mammoth 1000 package on it. This truck is absolutely exceptional. Let's take a closer look. This is one of only 200 trucks that Hennessey is producing with the Mammoth 1000 package on it. 1,000 horsepower in a TRX. Lots of little subtle cues on this. It is a $35,000 package, this Mammoth package. You can see right there on the bumper, you've got the lights, all sorts of good stuff. You can see these Hennessey wheels right down here. It also has a $15,000 off-road package. This is legitimately like a $200,000 truck. Mammoth 1000 with the last stand graphics on the back. You've got all sorts of Hennessey cues all over this. As you can see, no doubt that it is in fact a Hennessey Mammoth 1000. What a beautiful truck. And under the hood of this 1,000 horsepower monster, you can see it right there. Truck number 10, built by Hennessey with the Mammoth 1000 package on it. This truck has the automatic step bars when you open the door. As you can see right there, right over here, you've got the Hennessey 1000 Mammoth badge right there on the dash. And then right over here, you've got the Hennessey headrests in this absolutely beautiful interior on this TRX. If you've always dreamed about owning your own TRX, well, now is the time to act because you could win this monster, the Mammoth 1000 Hennessey edition. This is actually truck number 10 of 200. It does not come any better than this thing. And if you go to Dream Giveaway's website, enter my code RacerX, you will get not 2, but 3 times the entries for one price. And I'm really hoping one of my subscribers wins. As a matter of fact, if one of my subs wins, I will do a dedicated video with you and your new Mammoth TRX. So go out there, enter to win, and on we go with the video. And here are the two vehicles that I wanted to show you today. Yes, they are both 2024 Wagoneers. This is a standard Wagoneer. This is a Grand Wagoneer. And the engine in these two, while it may look similar, is actually a little bit different. Let's take a closer look. Even though they look basically the same on the outside, there are some pretty substantial differences between the Wagoneer over here and the Grand Wagoneer over here. First off, you get different engines. They both come equipped with an inline-6 twin-turbo Hurricane engine. This one comes with the standard output engine, and this one comes with the high output engine. So we'll go into that in just a second. But when you talk about sticker price on these two, even with $12,000 worth of upgrades on this Wagoneer, it comes in around $87,000. And it's actually quite nice inside. And then when you get over here to the Grand Wagoneer, this thing is crazy bougie on the inside. So not only does it have a more powerful Hurricane engine, but it is super nice on the inside. I'll give you a quick look. Here is the interior of the 2024 Wagoneer, and it is a very nice place to sit. You can see these beautiful leather seats in here, really nice big center console. You do get a really nice digital display in this. I actually drove one of these for over a month when my Demon 170 was having its engine replaced. You can see this big central infotainment screen, and this one actually has the upgraded screen in front of the passenger as well. It is actually really cool. And then when you get over here to the back seat, once again, you get these captain's chairs. You also kind of get these screens here on the back of the driver's seat and the passenger seat. So when you got people in the back, they can be entertained, and you can see a really nice big space here in the back. I mean, these are big, comfortable vehicles to drive. And while this looks really impressive kind of at first glance, and it is, wait till we get over to the Grand Wagoneer. On the Grand Wagoneer, there are multiple subtle changes, mostly aesthetic. Like I mentioned, you do get a more powerful engine, which we will look at, but you see all the chrome bits on the side of the Grand Wagoneer. When you open the door on this car, you can see the power running boards come out. Now just look at the interior on this bad boy. This is the most decked out of the Grand Wagoneers that you can get, a Series 3, but just look at the wood paneling inside of this, two-tone stitching. It is beautiful in here. A really nice place to sit. See the upgraded seats right here. And I'm not even much of a wood grain guy. And you can see bare bones, it's basically the exact same vehicle. It's just, it's just a lot more bougie. I don't know what else to say about it. You get a lot of little extras in this one. You can see that massive sunroof up here. A lot of really nice stuff going on with the Grand Wagoneer, but this video is all about performance. So let's take a closer look at the engine. Now, when you look at these two Hurricane engines, they look basically identical under the hood. This is your standard output Hurricane inline twin turbo 6-cylinder. You can see twin turbo right here. And then over here, the high output on the Grand Wagoneer, it looks identical. The only difference is this little bit of writing right here where it says twin turbo in silver. On the standard offering, it does not say that. So 420 horsepower there, really watered down. Over here on the high output, a lot more boost, 90 more horsepower, 510 horsepower on this, which is actually 40 shy of what the 2025 Charger 6-pack will have. And this is a much bigger vehicle. But I have driven both of these two trims and they actually handle vastly different. So what I want to do right now is take both of these two things down the road and give you my driving impressions. And is there really a difference between the high output version and the standard output Hurricane, and can you feel it? I am now aboard the 2024 Jeep Wagoneer. It is such a nice place to sit in here. As I mentioned to you guys before, I had the opportunity to drive both a regular Wagoneer and a Grand Wagoneer while my Demon 170 engine was being repaired. And I did notice a pretty big difference between the two engines, and I didn't drive them like back to back. So that's really what today is all about, because I've heard other people say the same thing. They say, well, the standard output Hurricane feels way watered down compared to the high output Hurricane. And remember, the new Charger has 40 more horsepower than even the high output Hurricane, and it weighs half of what a Wagoneer does. So I'm really interested to see, kind of just driving these two back to back, if I really do feel a difference. So I'm going to take this this Wagoneer down the road. This is the one with the standard output, 420 horsepower, twin turbo inline Hurricane engine, and then we'll jump over to the Grand Wagoneer. One thing you will notice about driving around the Hurricane twin turbo is that the power delivery is vastly different than it would be, say, on like a 6.4 Hemi. I mean, I've got a nice little straightaway right here, checking my mirrors, and then we go, and it's kind of nice and smooth, and here come the turbos. And even though this thing weighs 7,000 pounds, it doesn't feel slow whatsoever. It's actually pretty impressive, the power delivery on this. And mind you, the Hurricane engine makes full torque at like 2,800 RPM. These turbos spool up very, very quickly. And this is the more watered down version. And you don't get that same satisfying torque thump that you would get, say, in like a 6.4 Hemi. You also don't get the sound going out the back, but also keep in mind, this being a Grand Wagoneer, your average customer that's going to buy this car literally could care less. I realize on the new Charger, maybe that will be an issue, but if you don't care quite so much about the sound, I feel like you could make this engine sound pretty good. It will not sound like a V8 no matter what you do. So there is that part of it. But I really do like the power delivery in this. And like I said, it doesn't feel slow at all, even in the standard output Hurricane. Something else I find just a little bit weird, and I'm still struggling to understand it, is why there is so much hate for the Hurricane engine. I've heard people say, oh, it's just Euro trash and it's just going to blow up and it's going to be unreliable. And I've heard all sorts of stuff. I've even heard people complain that there's no dipstick. It has a sensor that is much more accurate than a dipstick that helps you tell what the oil level is in the car. I would actually prefer that. Half the time I'm fussing around with a dipstick and it kind of smears up and down on the thing, and it's a little bit hard telling. I end up checking it 6 times to make sure. And like, unless the sensor fails, which I've not heard of, I mean, I guess anything is possible, then all you'd have to do is just see how much oil it's supposed to have and put that much oil in it. But you know, I feel like that is a really nice upgrade to have, and people still complain about it. So there's a lot of things about the Hurricane I personally really like that people seem to really complain about. I think it's really early on to say, oh, no, that's just going to be an engine that blows up and it's not going to be reliable. And can you drive it for 200,000 miles? I mean, people will find a reason to complain about anything. That's one thing through YouTube that you find, is that no matter what it is, people will complain. But I have been very impressed with the engine on both the Wagoneer and the Grand Wagoneer. Now, when it comes to some of the electronics in the Wagoneer, I'm not even going to go down that road. I've had some issues. But the engine itself has impressed me very much after driving it for an extensive period of time. And here's a nice little straightaway right here, perfect example. Here comes the power coming in nice and smooth, and here comes that nice rush of power. It is pretty satisfying. And like I said, I kind of forget that I'm driving something that weighs 7,000 pounds, that's 67 feet long, that goes all the way back there, that'll hold, a school bus full of people. Because like I said, the engine feels very capable. You're not getting that same visceral, just burble. And I know that seems to be the big drawback with a lot of people that follow my channel, because they just want sound. I've always kind of maintained some cars shouldn't be as loud as they are because they're too slow to be that loud. It seems like a weird thing to say, but you guys have seen them, right? You've seen cars that are unbelievably loud and just don't get out of their own way. That is equally as frustrating to me. But I do get the point. I do get the argument. But I will say, guys, if you go out and drive just one of these. Now, mind you, this is the engine that they're going to be putting in the new Ram. You have the new RHO coming out with the high output version. And I think those are going to be very capable trucks. And I think as more and more people get to drive them, they'll actually like them. And, so many people say, oh, I'm just a simp for Dodge because I can have an open mind about this Hurricane engine. No, I just understand performance. And I am willing to give anything a try. So who knows? Maybe these engines will start blowing up when they hit 80,000 miles. I highly doubt it based on what I know about these engines, but you never know. I'm going to go ahead and give it one more little blast right here. Very capable, this thing. And I want to go jump in the Grand Wagoneer. And I just want to see, I kind of want to drive these two things back to back and see, is there really a difference? Am I going to feel anything at all? Let's go see. Now, I know I didn't spend a lot of time talking about the interior features and the difference between the Grand Wagoneer and the regular Wagoneer, but that's not really the spirit of what this video is. This video is really about the engines of these two. But I will say, sitting in this Grand Wagoneer, and it's not that the regular Wagoneer is bad, because it is still really nice, but this thing is next level on the inside. It is super, super nice in this vehicle. But anyway, I digress. So this obviously is the high output version of the Hurricane that they put in the Grand Wagoneer, and just cruising around, it really doesn't feel any different at all than the standard output Hurricane. I'm not giving it a whole lot of throttle, being pretty chill, still rides great, not making a ton of noise, not making much effort here, but yeah, it feels exactly the same. What might be interesting is when I actually go to get on it. And one thing I did notice when I drove the high output version before is, like, at speed, when you're cruising along at say 70 or 75 mile an hour on the highway, when you go to hit it with the high output version, it sits you right back in the seat and you are just almost instantaneously gone. Where, in the standard output version, it seemed like it just a little bit more to kind of get the vehicle going. Like I said, it didn't feel slow. It just took a little more effort for that engine to kind of get it up to speed. Now, I actually covered this in a previous video, but right now, Dodge is actually working on what's called the Cat X, which is a much higher horsepower Hurricane engine, even than the high output version. I'm told this thing could make in excess of like 1,200 horsepower. So monster engine. It's actually what's going to go in the new drag pack. But I feel like they could open up the playbook a little bit, give us more of like a Hellcat type variant down the road. And maybe we do have like a 900 horsepower Hurricane. The other option is they could give us kind of a high output Hurricane, maybe make it 550 or 600 horsepower, and add a couple of electric motors on the front to make it kind of a hybrid system. And then you've basically got the equivalent of like an E-Ray on steroids, which would also be an absolute ton of fun. I feel like they could go either direction and give us more of like a Hellcat variant with the Hurricane engine, and that would be unbelievably formidable, especially on the street being all-wheel drive. I could see that car being a ton of fun to drive. All right, now I've got a nice little straightaway, a little open road in front of me. Let's see how different the high output version feels compared to the standard output. Kind of give it some gas. Oh, yeah, that is substantial. Yeah, there's I just don't see any way that there's only a 90 horsepower difference between the two. When you first take off, it feels very similar, but you can feel all the extra boost that the high output version is making. My understanding is it's like 27 pounds of boost these turbos make. That is quite a bit. And you can really feel it in the way this thing makes power. I mean, just cruising down the road at a nice low speed. Here's kind of a little low RPM pull. I just kind of want to feel this thing go for a second. Here we go. All right, nice and smooth. Now we'll get on the gas. And here it comes. Oh, gee. I tell you what, it's like night and day. And that is just so strange to me, because in my mind, there's got to be more than 90 horsepower difference between these two engines. Way more boost, and when you come in with more boost, I mean, this was very evident on my twin turbo Mustang. I mean, when you went from like 6 pounds to say 10 pounds, even though it doesn't sound like a lot, you seem to make way more power way faster, and the car just got really rowdy really fast, just jumping up that one little setting. And this is a perfect example of that. You're upping the boost, a little bit more advanced, or not necessarily advanced, but a little bit more aggressive in terms of the calibration. And it feels way different. I mean, like I said, the internals of these two are basically the same. There's not a lot of difference. Those are really the only differences, just throwing more boost at it. And these engines are actually really kind of overbuilt. I feel like the weak link is on the HP 75 transmission. That's to be honest. So if I was going to build a Hurricane powered car, I would have to figure out to really beef up the transmission in it. But from an engine perspective, the engine can handle all sorts of power. Another little straightaway one more time. Nice and smooth. Yeah, this is feels way different than the standard output. It's really interesting when you drive the standard output first and then you get in the high output version. It seems to me like if I was going to put these two cars on a dyno, that this would make way more than 90 horsepower over what the standard output one does. So anyway, just when you're driving the two cars around, this makes me really excited. I mean, you really feel the difference. And when I say it makes me excited, I'm talking about the new Charger. I know not everybody's on board because of the V8 thing, but I encourage people when they start coming out next year to maybe just go drive it and see what you think. I know it's not going to sound like a Hellcat. But in terms of performance, with it being all-wheel drive and making 40 more horsepower in something that literally weighs half what this does, or close to it, I can imagine that thing is going to be a missile and a lot of fun to drive. So I'm really looking forward to the six-pack car. I know that the EVs are coming, guys. They're coming out much sooner. Not really all that looking forward to the EVs. I'm still going to drive them and give you my honest, objective thoughts about the EV. Maybe it'll surprise me, but as I've already talked about, I'm way more excited about the six-pack car for this very reason. So is there a difference between the HO and the SO? Absolutely. It makes a big difference between the two. So there you go, guys. That is my take on the standard output Hurricane versus the high output Hurricane. A very noticeable difference when you drive the two. You wouldn't think there would be. 90 horsepower doesn't sound like a crazy amount, but when you drive it, you really feel a difference in the way these two engines make power. And that's what has me excited about the new Charger 6-pack, because it's in a car that weighs half of what that does, and it makes 40 more horsepower. So we'll just have to wait when that thing finally comes in say July of next year or whatever it is. They're really making us wait a long time for it. But I think that car will be a heck of a lot of fun to drive. All-wheel drive, it's going to be very, very capable. And like I said, when you drive these two, there is no mistaking which one is the high output version and which one is not. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below, and I will catch you on the next one. So until then, RacerX.